I don't know if any of you guys or people watching this as a YouTube world have had the privilege of attending E3 ever, but it definitely was an amazing show. It definitely was an amazing show, and losing that part of gaming culture, I think it's absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible because, as I've said, if you undermine the meaning of words through social relativism, at the end of the day, that's populism. That's populism, and eventually, the real meaning will resurface. It will resurface. Ancestral chambers. Hey, where on earth are we? Here we can see a lot of Aztec influence. Cult follower, Dryad. We're going up against Dryads now. Hey, pretty good. See, this is a perfect example of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics that I always mention. See how narrow the passages are. That's an important level design element, people. See that I'm fighting in a narrow passage and I don't have a lot of room to maneuver, and considering the game does have casting times, I don't have a lot of room to escape. Pretty amazing influence of the level design on the game mechanics. No. I think that we can safely say by now that Sacred 2 has one of the best level designs ever. I'll be the first one to say it. It has one of the best level designs ever. Our extensive analysis of min-maxing that we did at the beginning also proves that the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics is definitely increased the second you drop min-maxing as a paradigm, which is the classic Blizzard system. In the framework of the stat system, min-maxing, remember people, basically increasing your base attack damage, as we mentioned at the beginning. Basically, Sacred 2 manages to succeed. It's one of the crowning achievements of Sacred 2. The stat system manages to naturally encourage the player to distribute his attributes evenly, and that's extremely important because of all the consequences that we've explored. The second you allow the player to just increase the base damage of your the base damage of his attacks. Hey, they impaired my movement. There we go. The second you allow the player to increase the base damage of his attacks and essentially steamroll the game, the second you allow the player to have that one-dimensional understanding of the gameplay mechanics to be enough as to be proficient in battle, the second you allow that, you are degrading the abstract complexity of the stat system. The stat system influences the gameplay system, as I've said, pretty much. The second the player is allowed, like in Diablo, like think about the latest modern RPG that you played. Pretty much the second that happens, it's a one-dimensional abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics. And the second that happens, you are degrading replayability, first of all, the psychological impact on the player due to the sense of progression, because the sense of progression will be shorter, let's say. But not only that, another huge consequence is that if you have a gameplay system in which the player is only required to increase basic attack damage and a secondary stat like critical rating, like critical chance, the second you do that, you are destroying 50% of the gameplay mechanics. 50% of them. Right? No defense at all to take care of. As I've said, going back to the hypothetical scenario we were talking about. The player doesn't need to care about reflection chance. The player doesn't need to care about evasion chance. The player doesn't need to care about vitality, the total amount of hit points that he has, at all. And as I've said, one of the crowning achievements of Sacred 2, going back to the conclusion of the of min-maxing as a paradigm in the framework of the stat system of the game, one of the crowning achievements is that it naturally encourages the player to evenly distribute stats, because that adds a lot of variety to the gameplay mechanics. and the fact that that wall is erected for the early game gameplay mechanics of the player is an absolute perfect design choice. Why? Because if the player, as I've said, it's a domino effect. If the player doesn't understand the naming conventions of the game, pretty much doesn't understand about accuracy and evasion chance and pretty much everything, they will have that negative ratio of the economic punishment system of the game. That will cause the player not to learn the gameplay mechanics because the timer will reset, they won't have gold, so they won't be able to survive a lot of mob assaults. And at the end of the day, the final consequence is that until the player doesn't learn the naming conventions, it's like a domino effect, and it goes all the way back. It restarts the cycle. It restarts the cycle because after the gameplay affects the economic system of the game, we go back to the stat system. It's a full circle. The player won't be able to save a lot of gold, and the direct consequence of that is that you won't be able to loot a proportion of gold enough as to pay for the potions. Hello, Akemi Hisami. Well, Akemi Hisami, don't tell me you are a bot. Don't tell me you are a bot. Don't tell me you are a bot. See why I blocked links, Pekarin? See why I blocked links? See why I blocked links? I blocked links. This is the very reason. This is the very reason. They attack again. Attack of the clones all over again. Yeah. You'll be surprised how many of those. Attack of the clones all over again. It's Attack of the Clones all over again.
Death comes over you.
Hang on a second. See why I had to block links? So thanks that you dropped the links over at Discord for Titan Quest 2 and the other one. Let me ban the bot so it doesn't bother us anymore. There we go. Thank you. You would be surprised how many bots I banned. I have a list, actually. I found a list online of bots and they keep creating. It's incredible because people actually you would be surprised, people, how many streamers use bots. How many streamers use bots to boost views? You would be surprised. I didn't know about this. You would be surprised how many streamers use bots to boost views, and that's the worst because it actually distorts. Once again about distorting Metaphysical, it distorts the actual quality of the stream for the viewer, for all of you, because you will find a lot of streams with a lot of viewers, with perhaps not that much quality, and you'll think, oh, so many viewers, yes, see how active it is, yeah, and you would be surprised how many bots. They are paid, and they're all bot builds. That's absolutely sad because it ruins for those of us who provide deep analysis and content which is rich in deep concepts and mechanics and everything. It absolutely destroys the thing because you will think, there's an army over there and this guy is talking alone in the desert. It happens a lot, people. It happens a lot, and those bots are responsible for it. Alright, I think we're done with this quest, huh? I know. We have a zone that is unexplored. Going back to the analysis, that stupid bot. See, besides they make me lose focus. Those bots. Going back to the analysis, one of the crowning achievements of Sacred 2, as we were analyzing today, is that the integration of the stat system with the gameplay mechanics erects a barrier. It erects a barrier that prevents the player from mastering the gameplay mechanics if they don't understand the stat system of the game. And I love the added complexity. Let's get into the final reasons as to why this complexity is good. The fact that having a stat system in which you have to evenly distribute stats to survive encounters has a positive impact on the gameplay mechanics. It increases the abstract complexity. It increases the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics because the player will have to care about the millions of stats that I mentioned at the beginning. As I've said, take a look at these, people, for a second once again. Take a look at this and compare this to the system implemented in modern action RPG games. These are isometric action RPG games, MMORPG games, and modern RPG games. Compare it. We eliminate the most important conclusion of today's stream that I want you to at least pay attention to for a second, is that most modern games eliminate, going back to the concept that I was talking about, they eliminate defensive system, the creation, the implementation of a defensive system. Going back to the conclusion, the implementation of a defensive system on that on their games. You just increase your base attack damage. As I've said, you increase your base attack damage, and I explained it perfectly at the beginning of the stream. You just increase your base attack damage, and you don't have to worry about your defense. Think about Diablo 3, think about Diablo 2, all of the RPG, the last RPG that you played, and you will realize that you didn't have to care about defense at all. It's a subconscious process, but pointing it out helps highlight it. It's a subconscious process, but we don't have to worry about defense in modern games. Now, this is related to another aspect that we analyzed some streams ago back at the desert region, in which I talked about the elemental system. The elemental system in Sacred 2. And I wanted to, now that we've already analyzed MinMaxing as a paradigm, how they connect. How does the elemental system complement, the stat system in Sacred 2? It does it through enhancing the defensive portion that, as I've said, it doesn't exist in a lot of modern games. In a lot of modern games, you only care about attack. 50% of the gameplay mechanics are destroyed. I went over it for 2 hours at the beginning of the stream, so I won't go over it all over again. But I want to see the relationship between the elemental system and this. Let's go back to the elemental system, people. What's the situation in most games? What's the situation? World of Warcraft, any MMORPG that you play, modern RPG games. There's only one type of elemental damage, right? In World of Warcraft, you have magical damage and physical damage. The color of the floating damage numbers does change, but it's the same type of damage. Important. Why, Eraser? Why are you highlighting that? Because most modern games don't have an elemental system in place. And besides all of the gameplay consequences that I already analyzed some time ago, back when we were at the swamp and the desert region, as well, having an elemental system adds a second layer of abstract complexity to the gameplay mechanic. But how does it relate to what I wanted to analyze today, the MinMaxing? MinMaxing as a paradigm, and the fact that Sacred 2 manages to break through that limit, through that classic Blizzard stat system, in which basically you only care about increasing your base attack damage and a secondary stat. How does it relate? Well, it relates as an extra part of the defense system of Sacred 2. Just like I mentioned the regeneration times, just like I mentioned evasion, just as I mentioned reflection chance, all of those stats that we covered at the beginning just like all of those, there's a second layer. There's a second layer of abstract complexity implemented on top of this. Just like with many aspects of this game, by now you know that I've been mentioning this second layer mentality of the developers of this game. That definitely is something that we have to highlight, because if we did a ranking, I did a ranking, but I think it was at the end of a stream and pretty much everyone missed it. I did a ranking. Compare the elemental system in World of Warcraft with Sacred 2 or Borderlands. Let's do that classification first. In World of Warcraft, only one type of damage, or Diablo 3. One type of damage, one type of elemental resistances. The same. It's one-dimensional. Plain and one-dimensional. Only one. Right? That's the base layer of complexity in a damage system. The player deals damage, the enemy has a resistance. In the case of Borderlands, Hellgate London, there's an elemental system implemented as a second layer of abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics. You have to worry about fire damage, poison damage, I don't know, in the case of Borderlands, I don't know, or in the case of Sacred 2, ice damage, slag damage. Generally it's 4 of them. In the case of Sacred 2, we have 5 because physical is also another type of damage. So, there's an objective upgrade. See what I always mention, the fact that we should always dissociate mental perception from metaphysical reality. There's no way around it. Having 4 types of different damage. Oh, once again, another bot. They are swarming us, people. Another bot. They are swarming us. Can they run gameplay? You are another bot. See what I meant, Pekarin? See what I meant? What I meant, sorry, that if I don't ban links, so thanks that you dropped that link over at the Discord, those links over at the Discord, because see how they bombard the stream. See how they bombard the stream? It's an absolute mess. Here we go, another bot bites the dust, people. Sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. Complain to Twitch, pretty much. There's nothing I can do. Thanks for dropping the link of Titan Quest 2 and the other one over at the Discord, Karen. Deep thanks. I was mentioning, see, they also made me lose focus. Compare World of Warcraft or Diablo 3's elemental system with Borderlands. For example, objectively, 4 types of damage and 4 types of resistances. It's not a matter of my mental perception, people. It's a matter of reaching metaphysical reality. It's objectively superior when compared to a single one-dimensional damage system. Why? Because the player has to worry about having fire damage, having ice damage, having poison damage, or whatever. The complexity, the abstract complexity of the mental model of the gameplay mechanics, I know they are all abstract concepts, but they are quite effective at analyzing it. The abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, it's exponentially improved. Because the player has to worry about more things. However, and this is the link, a huge explanation for this very link, in which what I mentioned at the beginning of the stream for 2 hours that we've been analyzing, the fact that MinMaxing isn't a paradigm in the framework of the stat system of Sacred 2, the fact that there is a 50% of the gameplay isn't omitted, like in a lot of modern games, because if you think about them, you don't have to worry about defense if you just increase your base attack and your critical chance, or any other secondary stat. There could be any other critical damage and you get natural critical chance. See how they are linked at the end of the day. Ignoring min-maxing as a paradigm and allowing the player to evenly distribute stats here in Sacred 2, how it positively affects, how it has a positive impact on the elemental system of the game as well. More on that in a second. How do you know my name? I'm gonna send you. I was over there. There we go. That one is safe. She sent us to rescue you. It has a positive impact because Sacred 2 does not ignore 50% of the gameplay mechanics, as we said at the beginning. Most games nowadays ignore the defensive part of the gameplay mechanics. if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Think about Diablo, think about World of Warcraft, think about all modern games. The player is allowed to increase base damage to a point in which creating a defensive gameplay system doesn't have a purpose. It destroys the purpose of having a defensive system uh, for a game like Sacred 2. For any of those games, sorry, in the case of Sacred 2, it is implemented. And when you do that, when you allow the player, like in Diablo 3, to just constantly kill mobs faster than the amount of time required to create a cohesive defense system, you're destroying 50% of the gameplay mechanics. The player no longer has to worry about defensive aspects of your game at all. At all. We analyzed it at the beginning, but just so you know, kill War Lady, Dark Wagon, and bring me her ring. These dungeons are called the Rooms of Our Forefathers. It is a fairly old building and consists of 3 blocks. The living quarters and prayer rooms are found in the main part. The leader, at this point, people, I'm already lost. I don't know in which part of the jungle and the dungeon we are in. Then we will find our way back to the surface. But right now we're in the belly of the beast. There's probably a world boss here. Wings of the facility. No, sorry. I've already managed to get a hold of the key that leads to the west wing of this facility. All you need are nimble fingers, quiet souls, and no one attentive. If you could do me a favor, the war lady is wearing a very interesting ring, a ring that I would like. Bring it to me, and the key is yours. All right. Well, anyways, it's the only path we can take, people. Going back to the analysis, because I wanted to reach this conclusion after analyzing at the beginning for 2 hours the how min-maxing as a paradigm, fortunately, has been improved upon with the system, with the stat system, with the framework of the stat system that we find in Sacred 2. Because we are encouraged to naturally, evenly distribute our stats, pretty much. Now, going back to the link. The link between this stat system, in Sacred 2, which encourages the player to evenly distribute stats, and the elemental system of the game. Well, as I've been mentioning, most modern RPGs are unable to implement a defensive system of the gameplay mechanics at all, because, as I've said, there's no reflection chance, there's no evasion chance, and all of the crazy stats that we can see here and here. There's no defense, a defensive gameplay system in place. In Diablo 3, you don't worry about your defenses. In World of Warcraft, you don't worry about your defenses. In most modern RPGs, you don't worry about your defenses. And that, if you think about it, is 50% of the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics. The player can be killed by enemy attacks and can perform enemy attacks. That's the basic philosophy of game development, right? But this must be locked, right? Yeah, we need the key to access this. So this dungeon is pretty huge, huh? I think it's pretty huge, this chamber. So we already lost 50% of the gameplay mechanics. The player no longer needs to worry about any defense. But see how they are linked. The elemental system in Sacred 2, if we compare it to Borderlands, not to World of Warcraft, to Borderlands and Hellgate London, games that have an elemental system implemented. We've already classified that games with a one-dimensional type of damage, World of Warcraft or Diablo, objectively, they only have one type of elemental of damage, so it's much more one-dimensional. It's simpler, it's plain. It's a plain damage system. Now, let's compare it specifically to Hellgate London and Borderlands. In Borderlands, you loot the weapons, right? You loot the weapons, and they provide you the elemental damage types that you need to combine to be effective in combat, and basically ensure that you beat your enemies, right? Perfect. However, the elemental system in Borderlands, it's also affected by the min-maxing philosophy. Quite interesting, and the very reason why Sacred 2 in a ranking would be one step above Borderlands. But I will give you the logical reason. Because Borderlands does not implement the elemental system defensively. Quite interesting. Quite interesting, people, if you think about it. In Borderlands, you just care about your type of damage, the type of damage you deal, but you don't care about elemental. It's this one, right? Dark Wagon's pet. We need to kill this one. But you don't need to care about elemental resistances for your character. See the subtle difference. Eraser is way too subtle. I still don't see that much of a difference. It is a huge difference. It is a huge difference because we are effectively exponentially multiplying by 2 the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics. It's not just that Sacred 2 has 4 types of elemental damage. It has 4 types of elemental resistances. Right? The player has to worry about the type of elemental damage that he deals, but also he has to worry about his elemental resistances in Borderlands or in Hellgate London. I think in Hellgate London you just increase elemental resistances through a stat by default to all of them. I think it was the case. But then in Sacred 2, it naturally encourages the player to master the elemental system both offensively but also defensively. That's the key. That's the key why the abstract complexity of the elemental system in Sacred 2 is linked to the very same element that I mentioned at the beginning of the analysis of today, people. Because there we go, we have to turn that one in and then we have to go back to the other side of the dungeon. Because Sacred 2 encourages the player to care, to perfectly distribute stat points and care about defensive aspects of the gameplay mechanics. It does not ignore 50% of the gameplay, like in Diablo, in which you just care about increasing your attack damage, and that's it. One-dimensional, plain and simple. A plain and simple system, a one-dimensional system. Sorry, I was taking a look at the quest. A one-dimensional. Bring the Ghost Conjurer's pendant with you. Ooh, the plot thickens, people. There is a crypt wing located to the western part, the one that I just tried to open. There will be a boss at the end of this. It has all of the... It looks like it. Cult members hardly ever go there. I heard 2 followers of the cult talking about how they avoid this wing. Too many ghosts and undead is what one of them said. Apparently a ghost conjurer named Equantius is down there and he's supposed to possess a very powerful pendant. Bring me this pendant. In the meantime, I'll try and get a hold of the key to this wing. Alright, we have several... I mean, this crypt is pretty huge. We should appreciate, people, that not only look at the insane complexity of the level design, what I've been constantly mentioned. See the high amount of details even with a massive world like this game. See how the game maintains its quality not only in the extension of the terrain but also the quality of it. It's absolutely amazing. Going back to the relationship between the elemental system of the game and the stat system. Going back to the relationship. Hey, where was that dungeon? It was through here, more or less. I think it was up there, right? The west wing. I think it was over there, the west wing. Yeah, it's that one over there. Going back to the relationship, see how the fact that the developers had a philosophy of creating a defensive gameplay system benefits all aspects of the gameplay mechanics. It's not just that, as I said at the beginning, that min-maxing with the classic Blizzard system is one-dimensional. It's not just that, and that the game successfully erects a barrier in which the player won't learn the gameplay mechanics, won't be able to learn the gameplay mechanics as long as he doesn't understand the stat system, and that barrier is perfectly erected, so the internal clock system of the game will take care of the reward punishment, psychological, economic, of the reward punishment economic system of the game, and having that psychological impact of having a perfect sense of progression on the player. Not only that relationship, but also the fact that since the player is encouraged to organically and naturally evenly distribute his attribute points in a way that you have a decent amount of vitality of your total hit point pool, that you evade most of enemy attacks, the fact that the player is encouraged to spend points on accuracy and defense and work on those stats, all of that then has a second layer of complexity when you take into account the elemental system of the game. I know they are all extremely abstract concepts, people, but if you think about them, all of that increases the abstract complexity. Abstract complexity, as I always say, it enhances replayability. And the second you enhance replayability, you are making your game much deeper, much richer in details. And as I said, psychologically, it works like that. It will be a big game with a lot of aspects to analyze, and it will be absolutely fascinating. The extension of the terrain in Sacred 2 is fascinating, but not only because of that.
Won't be easy for you.
But not only that, sorry. Not only that. The extension, the complexity of the abstract model of the defensive system in Sacred 2 is even more fascinating than the extension of the terrain, if you think about it, people. As I've said, look at this. Look at this that I always highlight. Basic attack types are influenced by my weapons, but combat abilities are influenced by my globes. See that the damage is turned to poison here, but if I remove them, the damage will turn into ice damage. There you can see that slight detail, the fact that there's a dissociation between the source of the elemental type of the damage that your basic attacks will do and your combat abilities, that dissociation adds a lot of abstract complexity. As I've said, is the key to why the gameplay mechanics of this game are so, as we commonly would say, addictive. And that's only the offensive system. This is the defensive system. See that my stats there are changing constantly through the relic system of the game. You loot the relics are objects that you can loot, and basically see how the game benefits from the defensive philosophy behind the stat system, as I mentioned at the beginning. How it is based around a defensive strategy, that it erects a barrier in which the player won't be able to simply increase base damage and beat the whole game immediately in a brain-dead and simple way. It encourages complexity. That's why the elemental system is the defensive incorporating a defensive system. It's better in this game when compared to all of the other examples. For example, in Borderlands, as I've said, there's an elemental system implemented. You need to have 4 weapons and 1 of each type. Pretty standard fanfare there. But it's not used defensively. This game uses the elemental system defensively and the stat system defensively. And it's the complete opposite of min-maxing. As I said, no matter how good your evasion chance might be, well, let's begin with attack damage. No matter how good your base attack damage might be, you won't survive an encounter against a world boss in this game. Why? Because there's a perfect balance with the defensive gameplay system that has been implemented to the game. Min-maxing, as I said, just to spend all of my points on intelligence if I'm a mage, all of my points on strength if I'm a warrior, and all of my points on agility if I'm a rogue. Let's go back to the initial argument. I invest all of my points on intelligence, and I beat the game. The second the developers of the game allow you to do that, as I've said, the classic Blizzard motto. Um, Easy to learn, hard to master. You decrease. Blizzard loves to do this, and as you can see, poor Blizzard. I always cite it as example, people, because basically it's a common ground that we all have played at some point, or there's a high probability that it will be like that. Okay, as I'm talking, we are getting into the belly of the beast, people. God, I mean, I don't even know in which part of the dungeon we are. Yeah, the West Wing, and we had to go back, right? We had to go back or what? No. The objective is over there. Seems pretty close. We have to keep going. No, I'm going the right way. So, I invest all of my points on increasing my basic damage, right? Imagine any modern game. If the philosophy of min-maxing is implemented, then simply like that I will kill mobs faster than the amount of time required to develop a defensive system in this game, in your game, in modern games. That happens to a lot of games. I think it's a philosophical design flaw, and it's absolutely terrible. Sacred 2, let's take a look at the solution of Sacred 2, of the stat system. The stat system is the framework of min-maxing as a philosophy, which Sacred 2 absolutely discards, if you think about it. And I'll prove it to you with epistemic evidence, as I've said. Empirical evidence. What I did at the beginning of the series, I invested all of my points on intelligence, hoping that it would increase my base attack damage, which it did, of my basic attacks, not of my abilities. My abilities is through the skill tree. And I thought that that was enough, like in all games. The game created that negative economic ratio because I got killed 462 times, if I remember correctly, 461, 62. And it forced me to learn about dexterity, which adds defense value, which is a posh word naming convention for evasion chance. Right? See the complexity. Always appreciate the complexity, people, because I always say, the more you enhance complexity, the more you are enhancing replayability. The more you are enhancing replayability, the more you are enhancing the psychological sense of progression of the player. I discovered dexterity and defense value as evasion chance. The possibility of evading world boss attacks. You could potentially think at this point, see the long mental model that I needed to understood to be effective in combat. Compare that to simply Diablo 3, increased base attack damage, kill all mobs, brain dead, pretty much it. The complexity, we need to learn to appreciate the complexity, people, because otherwise there will be no difference between complex abstract game systems, which are pretty difficult to develop, like in this game, and like what happens to professional game reviewers, that generally, on average, all of these subtle influences are not taken into account. All of the things that we've analyzed in these 38 days, from the level design to the relationship between the usage of potions and the gameplay mechanics, to the economic system of the game, and etc, etc. Then we need to get to the final analysis, people, huh? We need to get to the final analysis once we achieve 100% completion. Well, I discovered intelligence. I increased my base attack damage. It wasn't enough. The world bosses killed me. No sweat for them. Easily. It wasn't enough to min-max. The game went further beyond. It forced me to understand that I had to evade most enemy attacks. But not only that, there's a third element that I mentioned, which is vitality. Then I discovered that even if you can survive mobs by having high evasion chance through dexterity, even if that was the case, I was still unable, even after getting to the mid-game gameplay mechanics, I was still unable to understand that I also needed a stat that is always ignored in all modern RPG games, which is vitality, increasing your total hit points, or your total health bar, and your regeneration. You can survive mobs through evasion chance, through dexterity, but still there will be world bosses that will kill you in one blow. You will evade a lot of the attacks, but as long as one connects, only one hit kill. It's a possibility. because of all of this, because of all of this complex system, there you can see, that's why I've been displaying it too. See, players' chance to hit 56, opponent's chance to hit 20. All of that is influenced by accuracy as well. So it's another stat that you need to pay attention to. But vitality is notice how ignored vitality is in some games. When was the last time you spent points? You spent points on vitality, people, in a modern RPG game. When was the last time? Think about it. I bet you will have a hard time remembering it. The last time you spent points on your build in any game on vitality. When was the last time? In my case, it has been long ago. It has been long ago, guys. Because generally, the min-maxing philosophy of the classic Blizzard system, it's the mold, it's the placeholder, it's the model, the archetype that most game developers follow, and it has its benefits, as I've said. A lower entry of the learning curve. The learning curve is not as steep as Sacred 2, but there's also the negative aspect. Which is never addressed generally by reviewers. The negative aspect is that the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics ends up being one-dimensional. World of Warcraft, do you care about 4 types of elemental damage? No, not even offensively or defensively. Let's get to a more complex example, Borderlands. Do you care about 4 types of elemental damage? In the case of Sacred 2, there are 5, because physical is one of them. I know, but Borderlands has physical, so it's the same, 5 and 5. And Hellgate London, I don't know if it has physical. But well, it's the same, doesn't matter how many of them there are. Hey, we're getting into the belly of the beast. What is this zone? This dungeon is endless. See, this is what I meant when I've been constantly saying that the degree of precision, of handcrafted quality of the level design. See how massive the game world is, people, and how this dungeon is so big and huge. So I wanted to highlight today, as the topic of today's analysis, min-maxing as a paradigm, and the positive aspects. It has a lower learning curve. It's more, as we say, as a lot of people say nowadays, more accessible. The classic motto of Blizzard: hard to learn, difficult to master. But then the player is deprived of a lot of complex gameplay mechanics that could have potentially enhanced the experience. Think about Diablo with an elemental system in place, both offensively and defensively. Think about it for a second. How amazing it would have been. Hey, this is the exit or what? Well, I don't know, but we go to the exit, it looks like. To the end of the dungeon, at least. Let's see where it drops us. Hey, where are we? Hey, isn't this the entrance? Good. Isn't this the entrance? Because it, no, it's not the entrance. Well, I mean, this place is huge, then. Let's see where it leads us. If we haven't hit the corner of the map, I'll go on. I'll keep exploring until I hit the end of the map, the edge of the map, because I'm not coming back to this place. I know, there's the objective. Silly me, there's the objective. God damn it, look at the complexity of the fucking terrain, people. Look at this, we were here, now here, it's incredible, as I always say, metaphysically, see, this is the perfect example, people. This is the perfect example. That's the fact that the complexity of the terrain that we are witnessing here in Sacred 2, is it affected by my mental perception of it? No, not at all. It's objective, metaphysically objective. The degree of complexity of the level design is objectively, metaphysically objective, more complex than the average modern RPG and definitely more modern than World of Warcraft. You can see that I love the Lich King, and I have to admit it, people. I have to admit it. This game has a degree of complexity in terms of the terrain that I haven't seen uh, in a good while. In a good while, not to say that I would even dare to say that it's even more complex than Skyrim. So imagine, because I don't remember so many dungeons in this game as in Skyrim. Um, so yeah, and they are not procedurally generated here either. So it's a pretty close call. I would say that here the degree of complexity of the level design is even higher. But well, and that precisely is not a matter, and that doesn't change because of my mental perception of it. Remember, people, always the purpose to get a perfect analysis is to achieve, to reach metaphysical reality. As I always say, it's not a matter of my mental perception of it. It's not a matter of my mental perception of it. It's a matter of how, as I always say, this is a gaming mouse because of its specific combination of molecules and particles, not because we all agree to call it a gaming mouse. And the same is with the level design. The level design in this game has such a high degree of complexity that is objectively more complex than in World of Warcraft, and more complex means enhancing replayability, and enhancing replayability means enhancing the quality of the product. Because the game will be longer, because exploring the terrain gives you that psychological sense of progression, aka also known as addictiveness, how addictive the game is. But see that I could have never reached those objective conclusions without reverse engineering, without going back through my mental perception until I could reach metaphysical reality. See how important it is. As I always say, relativism works perfectly in a democracy. That's the door that I wanted to that we need to unlock. It works perfectly in a democracy. The sum of mental perceptions, the sum of our mental perceptions define metaphysical reality. The sum of our mental perceptions define metaphysical reality. We all agree to do something, we vote and majority rules, right? But when analyzing isolated objects like books, movies, video games, metaphysical entities, relativism is ineffective. Completely ineffective. Why? Because the first thing a relativist argument would tell me, it would be that it's impossible to achieve an objective conclusion from my mental perception. It's impossible to dissociate mental perception from the existence of a metaphysical entity. If we all agree this is a chair, because of if we subscribe to a relativist mental model, it's a chair without logical reasons behind it. Relativism usually doesn't have logical reasons behind it. It does not need them because it's a closed system, as I always say. So basically, people, in order to reach all of these objective conclusions, it's important to dissociate mental perception from metaphysical reality. Even if I think this is a chair, and I repeat it endlessly, it won't be a chair. Why? Because it's a specific combination of molecules and particles that simply could never be the composition of particles that create the metaphysical entity that is a chair. I know it's extremely abstract, but it's the key to properly analyzing metaphysical reality, because otherwise I would reach the conclusion. Imagine if I said this. We had to turn in the quest through here, right? Through here. Imagine if I said this. Well, but the fact that the complexity of the terrain is higher, it's only a matter of your mind, of Eraser's mind, of my mind, people, of the streamer's mind. It's only my mind. It's a problem. It exists in my mind. It doesn't exist in my mind. It doesn't exist in my mind. My perception tries to get as close as possible to metaphysical reality, which is different. Out of two mental perceptions, there will always be one that's closer to metaphysical reality in its description, and I think I'm getting lost. It was the other way. The other way. We had to turn in the quest. It's a fallacy to say that two mental perceptions have the same metaphysical value. Why? Because even for a 1%, for a slight detail, for a 0.1%, there will be one perception out of two of them that will be closer in its description to metaphysical reality, saying that the gameplay, that the abstract complexity of the level design is higher than in World of Warcraft. It's closer to metaphysical reality than saying that the abstract complexity is the same as in World of Warcraft. No, it's not. It's not, because of the myriad of logical reasons that I gave you people. And that is not a matter of my mental perception. As I always say, it must have happened to you 1,000 times when you say, when someone says, alright, but that's your opinion and this is mine. But like that, relativism prevents reaching objective conclusions. It's impossible to reach the conclusion that on average, this sentence, on average, the level design complexity of Sacred 2 is higher, objectively higher than the average modern RPG game. It's impossible to reach an objective conclusion, because it will be my mental perception, and it will have the same metaphysical value as the rest of them. At the end of the day, you can see that relativism encourages... it's sad because it actually encourages a lower average in the analysis of metaphysical entities. If all opinions have the same metaphysical value, if all of our mental perceptions are the same, and no one ever pierces through metaphysical reality, inventions don't exist. For example, because everything is the same. What's the difference? Then what would the difference be between the mental process required to invent something like a fork or a spoon, which requires a lot of abstract thinking, and simply eating food with my hands? Because I tell you, well, I like eating food with my hands, and I like it. My mental perception tells me that I like it, and that's it. If my mental perception tells me that I like it, it's better, yeah, but the person in question is ignoring metaphysical reality. The fact that a spoon or a fork is more effective at well, putting food in your mouth, pretty much, and digesting it. That is objective. It's not a matter of mental perception. As I said with the raw meat example. Very good, you did it. You have the atomic and underestimated your abilities. But we have one more dungeon of this huge crypt. The eastern wing. Bring me the Dungeon Master's Amulet. Good, good. I was busy too and got the key to the facility's east wing. There we go. That's where the prisoners are kept. A crazy dungeon master by the name of Mazagon. Here's the world boss, people, yes. Finally a good world boss to get our blood flowing. Rules the area with an iron fist. It's not a place you'd like to spend your summer vacation. This Mazagon person has locked himself in a large room. You should go speak with the secretary. He seems to still be halfway sane. He also possesses the key to Mazagon's room. Bring me the Dungeon's Master Amulet.
Just worry about the collection.
This is what I've been waiting for, people. What we've all been waiting for. The final world boss of this remote location of the map. I want to finish with all quests in this zone, because you could see how much time it took me to get through that maze and get to this spot. So let me save again, in case the game crashes again, and let's be sure that we don't lose any progress. As I've said, it's not a matter of my mental perception, saying that that's objective, that on average, most RPG games that we play nowadays, or even back in the day, not a lot of games had this abstract complexity of the level design. On average, the abstract complexity of the level design is higher. That is objective if we compare the games. It's not a matter of my mental perception. It's not a matter of my opinion. at all. It's a matter of how molecules and particles arrange themselves. It's absolutely fascinating. That's what precisely scholasticism investigates. Um, how matter, in the case this video game, how matter arranges itself with an external existence from our mental perception. Even if I tell you that this game is, not thinking the other way around. What if I told you that the level design in this game is simple, that it's common? Something wouldn't, even if my mental perception uh, arrived at that conclusion, it still wouldn't reflect metaphysical reality. That's why it sounds so bad if I told you, the level design in this game is common, you'll find it everywhere, or it's not complex, it's simple. That simply does not coincide, objectively does not match metaphysical reality. And that's precisely what we were talking with Pekarin about the E3 and some minutes ago, how even if the concept of cancel exclusive has been undermined, even if relativism can socially undermine the true meaning of the word exclusive, because as I've said, previously to the 8th generation of consoles, have you noticed, for example, this is a perfect example. Have you noticed that previous to the 8th generation of consoles, the word exclusive meant that a game was released only on that platform, right? Only on that platform. We have a lot of examples. Resistance for the PS3, Forza Motorsport and Horizon for the Xbox, Mario, all of the Nintendo franchises, pretty much. That was an objective meaning of the word. Exclusive means that it's only released on that platform. Relativism undermines the objective metaphysical value of the words. Please think about what I'm telling you, because it's the key, at least for a second, it's the key to understanding why, first of all, we don't have perhaps accurate game reviews or a coincidence between metaphysical reality and our mental perception. It's the very reason. When we undermine the meaning, the metaphysical meaning of the word, which is exclusive no longer means that it's only released on the PlayStation platform or the Xbox platform, for example. And the second that happens, we say that exclusive means the platform plus PC, right? That metaphysically does not match reality. It does not match reality, and as we were discussing with Pekarin, eventually metaphysical reality will catch up. It will catch up to the user. Eventually the user will realize that when they were precisely, I think they were Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella, as I've said, the ones that socially undermined the metaphysical meaning of the word exclusive. That had positive consequences and negative consequences. Positive consequences, well, we can play all games on PC, but I think that on the long run, metaphysical reality will collide with that imposed mental perception of saying that, well, if a game is released on PC and one more console, it's technically exclusive. That is a fallacy, it's a metaphysical fallacy, and because it undermines the meaning of the word, the metaphysical meaning of the word exclusive. So, on the long run, people, and I have already seen it, and the statistics that Pekarin provided to us some minutes ago, precisely, tell us that the PC market has largely absorbed a huge portion of the user base of console users, but not the Nintendo Switch, not the Nintendo player base. Why? Because metaphysically speaking, And Exclusive is a game that you can only play on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I know that the most predominant argument when I say something like this, the immediate reaction, as I've said, immediate reaction is the populist, generally populist, and relativist argument of saying that, well, but that's pro-consumer, that all games are released on all platforms. That's generally a populist argument, and even more when people say it's just that we are just idiots fighting over pieces of plastic. Generally, that's the argument. It's an ad hominem fallacy, as I've said. They attack the user behind the argument, the subject behind the argument, instead of the logical arguments behind the mental perception behind the opinion. And they will tell you, probably, if you say this, or if I say this, console wars are just for idiots who fight over pieces of plastic, right? But that does not answer the objective and logical argument as to why are you saying, because if you say that, the person is actually implying that console exclusives are not needed. That does not debunk the objective fact that taking out exclusives from out of the equation of the console market destroys the personality of the console. It does not debunk that logical argument, telling the person who tells you that exclusive, that the user behind the logical argument of saying that exclusives, I think, are still needed, and eventually metaphysical reality will collide with this. When people realize that they can play everything on PC, I think metaphysical reality will collide with that fake mental perception, and people will say, and I've already seen it, we have already seen it, people will say, why buy a console when you can buy a PC? You can argue convenience reasons, like what Pekarin mentioned some minutes ago, or other things, like, for example, some people say that they like playing with a joystick, which is a totally valid reason. But at that point, we should pose the question. Guys. Does the fact that a person, in his mental perception, would rather play a console, does it change the objective fact that by removing exclusives, we are partially removing the personality of the console? Does it change the objective fact? It doesn't change it. My mental perception does not change the objective fact. There it is. Finally, the Master King of the dungeon. I love it. This guy has an office right at the end of a massive dungeon, all locked up, and I spent how much time? 4 hours and a half, people, already. We spent kind of like 2 hours getting to this point of the dungeon. It's a 2-hour long dungeon. God damn it. Let me save again. I'm getting scared of the game crashing again. So let's get to it. We're at the very edge of the map. You want to take on the old guy? Well, I don't really care. Mazagon... it's not this one. Secretary Digini. Mazagon used to be a competent dungeon master. Pretty good reference there, breaking the fourth wall. But now he's gone completely insane. I think it would be better for him and for us if he was dead. You can quote me on that, though. Here's the key to his room. Perfect.
It is finished.
Finally, access to the throne room. I bet this will be a boss. Or something like that. Hey, there's a loot there. Going back to the analysis of the relationship between the elemental system and the paradigm, and min-maxing as a paradigm that is ignored in Sacred 2, that is completely solved in a different way. How does Sacred 2 solves it? In our ranking, as I said at the beginning, World of Warcraft, only one type of damage. Borderlands, 4 types of elemental damage, only used offensively. But if we start comparing Borderlands to Sacred 2, we will see the extra influence, the perfect integration of the defensive gameplay system of Sacred 2 on the gameplay mechanics of the game. You will see that the defensive system of the game, gets a huge benefit from this. There it is, finally, the end of the map. It gets a huge benefit from this. Let's do it. Hey, we are being attacked by Masagons, female, empty, and there's a box. What is this, a bag or what? It's a bag. Wow, look at that, it's a box. It's a box. Well, let's do it. Level 72, it's one level above us, it's a world boss. Dungeon Master Masagon. He deals fire damage. So let's use that. Let me activate this. Let's give him the proper respect he deserves. After all, he's a Dungeon Master. And as you can see, people, it has a huge impact on the defensive system of the defensive gameplay system, because as I've said, you not only have to worry about reflection chance, you not only have to worry about evasion chance, you not only have to worry about a lot of stats, but on top of all of those, you also have to worry about the elemental system of the game. Sacred 2 effectively creates, as a conclusion of today's stream, it effectively managed to create a defensive stat system that surpasses the barriers created by MinMaxing. As I said, the game organically forces the player to learn. It organically forces the player to learn the stat system of the game in order to influence efficiency in combat. It's not enough to just increase your base attack damage. It's not enough to learn about defense value, to learn about evasion chance. You need to pick 3 attributes and evenly distribute your stats on them. Evenly distribute them. That is one of the crowning achievements of Sacred 2 that I wanted to highlight today, because, as I always say, it's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to, guys. It's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to, and it's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad, because do we have any other quests in this zone? No, I don't think so. Let me summon my spider, and let's turn in all of those quests. I don't want to get out of this area until I don't until we don't complete all of the quests, because it's difficult to access this area. So basically, as a conclusion, I think it's a superior system when compared to hey, Scarlet Dragoon, how have you been? Man? We were talking about D3 and a lot of things. How have you been, man? We are at the edge of civilization right now. How have you been? I got through the jungle. Scarlet Dragoon, and I arrived at Great Britain, I guess, to the UK, to Dryad Island, and I've been analyzing MinMaxing today. Pretty interesting, and we also analyzed well all of the influence of MinMaxing on the gameplay mechanics and everything. On Thursday, I did a lot of game recommendations to Pekari and another viewer. So if you would like some offline MMO recommendations, there I did a lot on Thursday. And quite amazing. We also talked about how nostalgic we were about E3 and the Doritos guy. How was it that he went to a hotel with Kojima? The Jeff Keighley. Well, and I don't know. The overall sad situation of E3. But well, I don't know if you've seen this part of the game. I don't know if you've seen this part of the game. Uh, we're pretty much at. I think we are at the. I spent a whole hour, Scarlet Dragoon. I spent a whole hour trying to get through this Ewok zone, through the trees, and getting to this dungeon. Absolutely crazy. It's truly a maze. It's truly a maze. It's truly a maze. Like took me an hour. Took me a full hour to get to this point. I take it the dungeon master didn't cause you too much trouble. You never know what those unpredictable lunatics are going to do next. Thank you for your help. Here is a small token from me.
Another
Good.
check in the book of quest.
We're at the very... I forgot, Scar Dragoon. I forgot. I got access to the developer dungeon. Did you explore the developer dungeon back in the day when you beta tested the game? Because I got access to the developer dungeon, and absolutely the leader of and great there's another one. The leader and the great master of the cult is in a large room at the north end of this hall. Oh, we're not done, people. The leader of the cult, sorcerer Mancol, is probably in the last room. I overheard a novice talking. He was telling another novice that the sorcerer likes to transform himself into a winged demon. Anyways, when Mancau's dead, then some of the problems should take care of themselves. Here's the key. Good luck. Another one. There's one last. I don't know if you've seen it, Scarlet Dragoon. Just as a reference, Scarlet Dragoon beta tested this game, played it back in the day, and I discovered on Thursday the developer dungeon, the secret developer dungeon of the game, and it's absolutely amazing. You're probably doing your what was it called your quality assurance. I won't bother you, but I don't know if you've seen it. The developer dungeon, it activated a quest that pretty much I don't want to bother you. I know that you're doing your quality assurance. It spawned all of these quests all over the place. Absolutely amazing. So I will leave that final quest as a victory lap once we achieve 100% completion. The developer dungeon. I'll leave it for the end. But yeah, I finally got access to it, and now I know that I have to go look for Ascaron employees. I have to look for Ascaron employees in the game, which is quite amazing. So well, today people, we've been analyzing MinMaxing as a paradigm in the framework of the stat system of the game, and pretty much in an extensive analysis I established all of the relationships and everything. So pretty much we're at the edge of the map right now. If you are interested in the analysis, Scarlet Dragoon or anyone else, at the beginning of the stream we did an in-depth analysis of min-maxing as a paradigm and how Sacred 2, I was arriving at the conclusion pretty much that Sacred 2 successfully, one of the crowning achievements of Sacred 2 is that it successfully implements a defensive gameplay system that we don't find on most modern RPG games, isometric action RPG games, and MMORPG games, and nowadays. A whole defensive system that basically, this is the ending, right? This is the end of the dungeon. See how massive the game is and how we go to the end of the dungeon. Here, it has to be this one, right? Pretty much. It should open. There should be a demon sorcerer over there, the final boss. We're at the edge of Cyberlight. Ooh, at the edge of Cyberlight Sage. What on earth? Scarlet Dragoon is probably laughing right now, knowing what will come. What on earth? Where's the demon? I'm here to kill it. Hey, now we're at the very edge of Cyber. Ooh, careful with those. Let's see. Wow, talking about enemy variety. Sorcerer Mancow. It's a flying serpent. Damn it. What are you? I'm going to tear you limb from limb and pick the meat from your bones. Die. Let's see. Let's see if our skill tree is up to the challenge. Ah, it's not a skill. It's not a world boss. The dungeon master was more wow, more powerful. Careful, careful, careful. It may not be a world boss, but alright. It's got a lot of cronies. They deal magic damage, right? Good. Ooh, they deal physical damage over time. A quite rare type of damage. Pretty good. Our skill tree is working flawlessly. Look at that. It wasn't a world boss. Now I'm disappointed. Since we just did a world boss with the world master, with the dungeon master, sorry, with the dungeon master, Nogazul or whatever. It wasn't that. Or we are way too good and we've already have a perfect mastery of the gameplay mechanics. Or last room.
I don't have any room left for that. I have to check
Yeah, I think it's the first.
one more time.
I think it would have been a challenge because it had all types of resistances for a player that's not doing a 100% completion. I think it would have been. I think we have finally finished the quest. We will see. We will see, people. Maybe it sends us to another dungeon. By the way, people, a reminder, before we go on, before I forget, at the end of the stream, extra thanks to Pekarin, and extra thanks to Pixel Generator for being the 7th and the 8th members of the Discord channel from the bottom of my heart, and thanks to also Pekarin for joining, for subscribing over at YouTube, and Yoshio, the 47th subscriber of the YouTube channel. I will display your messages on a Thursday, but I displayed the subscription messages of YouTube on a Thursday for Yoshio and Pekarin if it was a public subscription over at YouTube. But also, as always, deep thanks for joining the Discord channel to both of you. If you are watching Pixel Generator, I think your account, I think Olympus 1982. I don't know if it's you, Pixel Generator, but I've written you over. I sent you a message over at Discord to verify if it was effectively you, the 8th member of the Discord channel, because I want to know for future references the corresponding Discord account and Twitch account. But thanks to both of you from the bottom of my heart. And let's finish this. Looks like this is the end. Go on ahead. I am Gilminga. Did my parents send ya? Yes, it's true. I came here of my own free will. I wanted to see if there was any truth to all the rumors about this cult. I soon discovered that it's just all a pack of lies and that this is a horrible and sinister place. I stay hidden and I wouldn't have been able to find my way back out alone. Now that everything is over, I can go home feeling reassured. The nice wizard that I just met was also sent by my mother. He got here a little late, but as the saying goes, better late than never. He's going to teleport you out. I'm going to stay here and look for treasures, and then I'll come too. Perfect. Happy ending. And as you can see, we got to the end of the dungeon. People, at the very edge of civilization. We had to finish this patience. Well, here, this one. My daughter's coming home. Thanks to the god. Thanks be the gods. I'm overjoyed. Here, take this as a reward.
Glory and power.
By the way, people, as a general message, Scarlet Dragoon and anyone else watching this as a YouTuber or anything, feel free. Needless to say, I don't do this because I don't want to bother you at all. Because I know that we old school players generally don't like. Originally, we don't like Discord because there are new things and etc. Needless to say, you're all invited to the Discord. Needless to say, it would be an honor for me to have you all over at Discord. Needless to say, I don't say it frequently because I don't want to bother you. Because I know that for old school players, maybe it happened to me in my case the first time I created a Discord account. Maybe it's a fuss that we are not used to. But needless to say, followers of the channel are openly invited to the Discord. There's already 8 of us. I share a lot of gaming news, gaming recommendations, and the like. And pretty much my knowledge is at your disposal, so I don't say it frequently because I know it bothers you. Because I know it bothers old school players generally, on average. So that's the very reason. But needless to say, I would be honored to have all of you hop over at Discord. So yeah, needless to say, people. Slave 5 is something that I never say, and I need to remember to once in it, from time to time, tell it to you, because I know that sometimes with my metaphysical analysis and everything, it can be quite uh, sometimes intimidating with all of the metaphysics and everything, and nothing to do with it. Needless to say, I would be honored to have you all over at Discord. Slay 5 giant spiders, but I don't want to bother you. That's the thing. Those spiders were no match for you. The next task is a little bit more difficult. Kill 5 giant spiders. If you manage that, there will be a surprise with them. Damn it. No, I want to finish all of the quests here, people, huh? Because it took me a long time to get to find the exit to this maze, to find the entrance to this maze. So I'm not finishing until I don't have all of these things covered. Because no. It took me a long while to get over here, so I'm finishing all of the quests in this region. Then we will take care of the northern section of Dryad Island on Thursday, but I want to finish with this region. By the way, another incredible piece of information, even if you're not over at Discord, people, Pekarin just told me that Titan Quest 2 was announced, and Darksiders 4, there was a THQ Nordic conference that I was not aware of, and pretty much they announced Titan Quest 2. I am overjoyed. The first thing that I will do is go over precisely over at Discord and check out the links that he left me there, because Titan Quest 2 is it's an earthquake, people. If you think about it, it's an absolute heaven-shaking event. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Highly recommended. Level up. Yes, I've noticed. We need to take a look at this, huh? Maybe for Thursday we can do it. The proportion of the experience system, because we are leveling up at a much slower pace than at the beginning of the game. Eraser, I know that's pretty usual in all video games. What are you saying? No, but it's a subtle element that also no one pays attention to, and it's quite interesting, because it will define the pace of early game, mid game, and end game gameplay mechanics. Pretty much. Concentration. What's this? It should be at that. And
I will make you
gruesome inquisition. We are close, people. 72. We are only 3 levels away from unlocking the 3rd buff, for finally achieving the endgame mastery of the skill tree. The endgame mastery of the skill tree. We are only 3 levels away. Historic moment. As you can see, at level 75 from the description there, we will get to the mastery. We'll be able to finally invest the rest of our points on concentration, and we'll get a buff there. Our regeneration times will be greatly improved. Pretty much. What's this? Who is attacking us? We have these 2 Amazons following us, so we also need to drop them. Let me see, people. I know that I'm extending a bit more than the usual amount of time, but well, between the analysis, the E3 chat that we had, and everything, I thoroughly enjoy discussing these topics with you. That's why, don't be shy, because I thoroughly enjoy discussing these topics with you. Game recommendations, everything. My knowledge is at your absolute disposal. Because pretty much are things that reviewers don't pay attention to. They don't pay attention to, and I think it's sad not appreciating
Look
the
like a pack mule to you?
the the quality of detail that the game has. Help my brother Gloran. You are strong, even stronger than I thought. The giant spiders couldn't thwart you. Alright, here's your surprise. I also have 3 more brothers, and they have some other tasks for you. So talk to my brother Gloran
The
if you
Inquisition
want.
will take
Good.
care of this matter.
A wise decision, my friend. They go to
For
Arandir.
Kerr.
Good. We are at, as you can see, people, 100% completion. We've reached the very edge of the map. Any other quest in this location? I don't think so. As you can see, today focused. First of all, I wasted 2 hours of the stream trying to get. They weren't wasted because we analyzed a lot of things, but they were wasted gameplay wise because trying to get into this zone, pretty much what I was mentioning, the density of the terrain, until I got to this intricate zone of the level design, it definitely took a while. A quick note also for YouTube viewers, if you are watching this as a YouTube VOD, I am still working on the timestamps for all of you, but I
One
simply
less
don't have
heretic.
time. In case you see that there's a huge delay between our current gameplay and the older recordings that we did over at YouTube. Pretty much over at YouTube, we are in. I, t- I I took a look, and we are pretty much. Oh, we are pretty much here at the Ghost Village. YouTube viewers, if you by the time you see this, everything will be uploaded. But I think only by January of
To
next
the
year,
netherworld with
the
me.
ending of Sacred 2 will be broadcasting over at YouTube. There's a huge difference. I already have August, September, October, and I'm getting to November, so it will probably get into January of next year. If you are watching this in January of next year, we salute you from here. But yeah, if you want to see the latest gameplay, hop over here over at Twitch, and here you'll have the latest gameplay. There's a huge disparity. There's nothing I can do. I had to add the timestamps, and I simply don't have a lot of time to do it. I have already configured the bots up until the end of August. I know, up until mid-September, and and well, there's that inevitable delay. But well, people. But well, the bots that we did back then were also good, so they're always good. Uh, they're always good. So I think we are done with this zone. I think we're done with this zone. Let me check something. Let me check the time. Oh, it's almost 10 p.m. So I had to do a lot of things, and it's been almost 5 hours today. We with the fact now the game didn't crash. Have you noticed? Now the game didn't crash. It's so random. It crashed kind of like constantly for a lot of time, and now it didn't crash. I honestly don't get it. Um, People, if you want to see the full analysis, here you'll have the board for those of you who Scar Dragoon. You have it ready. You have the board in which I analyzed at the beginning of the series. At the beginning of today's stream, min-maxing as a paradigm. I didn't want to repeat everything, so pretty much, um, I just wanted to get to the conclusion in the final hour. If you arrived at in the final hour, and as I've said, a pixel generator. If you Olympus 1982, if you are pixel generator over at Discord, I sent you a message. Um, in case you watch this as a bot, please, whenever you can, reply to my message because I want to know the corresponding Twitch user when compared to the Discord account. Please, for organization purposes and for ensuring that that I don't get any bots or anything on the server, or and for organization purposes. I want to know the corresponding Twitch account and or YouTube account if you joined the Discord through a YouTube bot. The same the YouTube account, so I know who you are. So I know who who you are, because otherwise I cannot recognize you over at Discord. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long day. Hope my analyses are enjoyable for all of you. Thanks, Pekarin, from the bottom of my heart. Thanks, Scarlet Dragon, from the bottom of my heart, for joining and chatting with me, and also for every second that you spend enjoying my crazy metaphysical reviews and our in-depth analysis. Also, thanks to all Discord members and followers of the Twitch channel in general, from the bottom of my heart, you are the very reason that you encourage me to continue showcasing all of these forgotten gems, even if there are bots, in spite of the bots, that certainly deserved much more praise back in the day, and sadly didn't get the spotlight they deserved. Um, Thanks to the two new YouTube subscribers. I think I thanked everyone. Discord members, new Discord members, new followers over at Twitch here on Thursday, and I wanted to thank Yoshiro. I'll display your message on Thursday. Thanks Yoshiro for being the 47th subscriber over at YouTube. I'll display your message on Thursday, and also thanks to Pekarin for also uh, not only joining the Discord, but also subscribing over at YouTube. It's just that the subscription wasn't public. Remember that you can subscribe publicly or privately. One last thing before I go, people. One last thing before I go. It wouldn't be me if I didn't at least mention the sad situation that is happening over at the UK. As you know, Argentina is an Italian and a Spanish diaspora that we never cut our European ties, our cultural ties with Europe. So for me, it's extremely painful to see the protests over in at the UK. So all of my solidarity and strength to the British population, to the British in general, and to all of them that sadly, the sad state of reality is that sadly Europe, my 2 cents, is suffering an invasion with what we are seeing. There were three casualties, and simply as a quick reflection, uh, it is definitely true that one thing is the gap between Roman Catholic countries and Protestant countries, perhaps the difference between the UK and Italy, or Anglicanism, or whatever. In general, all religions derived from Roman Catholicism. There's a difference between that and, sadly, Islamism. There's a huge difference, and we can see the consequences of it uh, in the streets of the UK right now. All of my strength, all of my solidarity and support to you guys. You have all the rights to live in a country which for 2,000 years, for a lot of years, not 2,000, for 1,500 years, was Anglican and Protestant, and definitely, uh, they're sending people to jail just because of postings on social media, uh, and that's destroying freedom of expression. That's absolutely disgusting. I don't know what the Labour Party is thinking, but if they think that will fix anything, I don't think it will. There's three casualties, as I've said, three young girls. I don't know if you know what's happening, people, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't send all of my utter, absolute support to the UK and the British population. They're all patriots because they are also being treated, they are being called Nazis and far right extremists when they are protesting over three people killed. Pretty pretty terrible stuff, and there are people being arrested for just posting on social media that they disagree with integrating a culture that definitely besieged European kingdoms for 2,000 years. Like, this is history. These are objective facts. So all of my support. English has, as a language, has provided me with a lot of, especially Cambridge University. It has provided me with a lot of opportunities in my personal life. So it wouldn't be fair if I didn't send my utmost support to all of the UK, and I hope uh, uh, mm, and I hope politicians over there realize that someone, as I always say, I'm an atheist, but someone isn't an idiot just because he's Christian or Protestant or Anglican or Jewish or whatever. It's Western civilization, and we have all the right to exist and not be called Nazis and the crazy things that they have been accusing the British population of. Quite horrible. Quite horrible to say that people protesting are Nazis. Quite disgusting. Quite disgusting what they are doing. So all of my support and solidarity from the bottom of my heart, because I do have British viewers, and my full support to all of you. My full support to all of you. Hope you stay strong, and 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 you are able to live in a country with its historical cultural tradition that is absolutely natural. You know what? Why this? I always mention these topics because in Argentina we have seen it. The New York Times and the Washington Post, for example, are always, or leftist press in general, they say that Argentines are Nazis because Argentina didn't have a slave trade. Uh, it never had African slave trade, basically, and when or when we go to football events or sport events, when we go to sport events, when national teams go to sport events, the first question that they say is, why are you all guys white? I thought you were like Mexicans, or all of those things. And then they immediately pull out the card of white guilt and all of that shit. And I hate it when they tell us white guilt, that people with European blood, regardless of the fact that we live in the Americas or in Europe, that we are colonizers, killers, etc., etc., etc. As I told you a lot of streams ago, um, before the colonization of the Americas, the only thing that was here was death and destruction. When they say, for example, that the poor indigenous population, yeah, the poor indigenous population were savages. There's recorded history here in South America. They did human sacrifices. In case you are interested, they would kill first women and sacrifice children to Quetzalcoatl or whatever shit over there in Central America. The Aztecs here in South America. Uh, they did pretty much the same. So when they said the British colonizers, the Spanish colonizers, and everything, oh, the Nazis, the far right, stay strong. That people never touched a book, sadly. Pretty sad. Never touched a book. Never touched a book. And pretty much, as I tell you, always, denying that a certain religion that is invading Europe, because it's an invasion at this point, is compatible with Christianity, um, it doesn't work. It simply does not work because the values are completely opposite, and um, besides, the, there's a narrative of putting yourself in the place of the victim, whatever happens. And we've seen this with a lot of British authorities, sadly, that they said, if you find something, if you read up some articles, you'll see that they say the original British protesters, due to the deaths of three little young girls, that they are far right, Nazis, whatever, a white guilt, etc. Feel bad. And then the other ones, there's a recording of a journalist, and the other one, they are peaceful protesters, and they are destroying the UK as well. So all of my support. There's clearly a double standard, which should be unacceptable. Uh, every, at the end of the day, it's absolutely sad, but well, all of my support and solidarity with the United Kingdom that your language, your language united a lot of people all over the world. Even right now, when I'm speaking, what I'm speaking in English, and it has also uh, opened a lot of possibilities for a lot of people all over the world. So it's deeply saddening for me that that the first university I studied at here is the dependency here in Buenos Aires, in Fairwind City. Then someday I need to show you my Fairwind City, the capital here of Argentina. You will see that I always say it's at the edge of civilization, and a lot of people tell me it's so similar to New York. It has a lot of similarities. So yeah, um, the dependency here in Argentina was my alma mater. The first university I assisted to was Cambridge, and it's absolutely sad. It's absolutely sad that you have given so much to the world, and uh, and the population has to endure terrible political decisions. All of my support and solidarity to the UK, and thanks from the bottom of my heart. As I said, thanks Carl Jagoon, thanks Pekarin Knockout from the bottom of my heart, thanks to all followers of the Twitch channel in general and Discord members. As I said, Olympus 1982. If you are Pixel Generator over at Discord, please tell me. I wrote you a message, and thanks to all YouTube subscribers and everyone who spends a single second watching this as a bod, as a Twitch bod or a YouTube bod. And in general, thanks to all of you people for enjoying my analysis. See you all on Thursday, in which we'll explore the northern section of Seraph of Dryad Island with other topic of analysis that I have ready for that day. And afterwards, we still need to get to the final analysis. Remember, I know it's been a year since we've done a final analysis with this game, since September of last year, because this game is massive. But we'll need to get to the final analysis. The Ultimate PS Vita Showcase. If Shantae's Risky's Revolution is released by then, we'll do the Ultimate 3DS Showcase. Otherwise, it will be delayed. And then the next game for analysis that I'm sure you'll all appreciate that I fixed it, the physics engine. Quite interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and see you all on Thursday. Have a great week.